In 2023, the number one thing you should be doing to create opportunities for your business, growth, and impact is going on podcasts as a guest. In this video, I'm going to cover everything that you need to know in order to start a campaign, get out there, get seen, and create impact. I'm Jeremy Ryan Slate. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Command Your Brand. And at Command Your Brand, we are your source for everything podcasting, whether that's going on shows, whether that's getting booked on shows, producing shows, or education. You can check us out over at commandyourbrand.com. If you're new to this channel, do me a favor, hit the like button below, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and smash that subscribe button if you are somebody that wants to grow your business. So the first thing we're going to start with is why podcasts are so important. And if you haven't noticed, the media landscape is changing a lot in the last few years. We've seen people want to be a consumer in a very different way. We see they watch Netflix, they watch Amazon Prime, they subscribe to podcasts. And what does that mean? It means media has become user-driven. And legacy media doesn't quite know what to do with this. And because of that, a user is making a choice to not just watch you, but possibly subscribe to you and look at you more as an authority figure. What we're really seeing is the democratization of media. This is something we've never experienced before. So podcasts are a really great opportunity to get out there and get seen and get heard in a different way and play with the big boys in a way that you could not really before. So first off, what is a podcast? A podcast is an audio file that you can subscribe to and listen to on your phone, or like we've seen in the last few years, it's become more on things like YouTube and Rumble, so you can see them a lot more out there. Where do podcasts come from? Well, if you want to look way back to the early 2000s, there was the podfather, Adam Curry. He's actually the guy that invented podcasting. What he did is he looked at the technology of RSS feeds, so like that was blogs and how you could subscribe to a blog. And he said, I wonder how you could do that for podcasts. So then Adam actually reached out to Dave Winer, who is the father of blogging, and said, Dave, I have a great idea. That became the birth of podcasts. And later, podcasts really took off when Steve Jobs looked at that idea, actually reached out to Adam, and it made the leap from the iPod to the iPhone. That was one of the biggest leaps in podcasting. So when you're looking at getting out there and getting seen, I'm going to cover 4 things that you really need to know in this video about getting out there and creating the most impact. So number 1, and this is where people actually fall flat right off the bat, and that's defining your niche. Everyone wants to go on the biggest shows out there, the Joe Rogan Experience, Impact Theory, and those shows may be great if you have a big and well-established brand, but actually off the bat, you're going to see a lot more success if you define your niche. And what do I mean by that? You want to niche down almost till it hurts. Who do you serve and how do you serve them? For example, at Command Your Brand, we have a client that they don't just offer financial advice, they do it specifically for practice owners and very specific type of practices, whether it be veterinarians, whether it be chiropractors. So how they communicate is going to be very different. And what you're going to find is when you go on podcasts within that niche, you're actually speaking directly to the people that need to hear you. Those people are called your public. People often hear the idea of a public and they're like, public, that means everybody. That means I'm a celebrity and where's my public? A public is actually a public relations term and it means a very specific type of audience. So your public may be, in this case, it may be veterinarians, it may be doctors, it may be lawyers. Your public are the people that you're speaking to. And when you really niche down, you're going to be in front of your audience. That is the number 1 thing you have to think about, or nothing else we're going to cover in this video matters. Number 2 is creating a targeting list. This is another place that people really fall flat. I like to make this just in Google Sheets, and you create several different columns for yourself. The first being the show title, the second being the show name, the third being the date you reached out to them, and the fourth is what was said in that interaction, if anything was said at all. Now, you're going to be much more organized to continue following up, continue adding to this list, and make this an action you can do daily, weekly, or monthly. But if you don't have a targeting list, then you're really going to set yourself up to be in a difficult position. Now, how do you find the shows to build out that targeting list? This is another interesting way that I like to do things. This is Chartable.com, and what this allows you to do is see charts in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or in other places, so you can see what people are listening to. So when you go to Chartable.com, you're going to scroll down and you're going to see top charts. You're going to see top 200. You're going to see Apple Podcasts. You're going to see Spotify. So we're going to click on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you pick your country. And then within that, you're going to see several different things. You're going to see a list of all they're going to see two columns, the first for podcasts, the second for episodes. Under podcast, you're going to see all podcasts. So this is the top 200 for all podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And if we're niching down, like I talked about in the beginning, this is not going to be where you want to start. Now we're going to see below that, we're going to have the categories. So arts, business, comedy, and on and on and on. Now, under that, when you're going to see the indent here, let's look at business. Under business, you're going to see careers, entrepreneurship, investing, management, marketing, nonprofit. These are subcategories. And this is actually where you're going to see the most success. So let's pick entrepreneurship here. Now you're going to see the different shows that are the top 200 within this category. If it were me and I was starting brand new, so we're going to want to go all the way to the end so we can see the shows that rank the lowest out of this amount, because these are going to be the easiest for you to reach. Now, you have to be logged in or have an account with Chartable in order to do this. To have a basic account, it is free, and there is no charge to do that. So let's go to... They show you the top 250. So if it were me, I would start looking at what are some of these shows towards the end of this. And I would copy and paste these, and these would go on my targeting list. And these would be the first shows I would reach out to. Now, if you want to really create momentum, you're going to want to start out with 50 or 100 podcasts you're looking into. So what we could actually do is we're going to go back to the homepage on Chartable here. We're going to go back to the Apple Podcast charts. What I would do is I would look at what subcharts do I fit into? Am I entrepreneurship? Am I investing? Am I management? And within that, I would once again go all the way to the end, and I would use this to define the shows I want to go on. And you can see statistically over time how they're doing and where they rank all over the world, see their reviews, things like that. The third thing we're going to cover here is writing a pitch. And writing your pitch is the most vital thing. When you're writing a pitch, most of the time it is through email, though I personally have found Twitter and LinkedIn to be really successful places in order to reach out to people. Twitter especially, because what I like to do is engage with someone for a little bit first, add some value to their community, and if their DMs are open, send them a DM. Make it very personalized to them, keep it short and keep it sweet. But if you're writing a pitch and you're writing it in email, let's go over what that looks like. So when you're writing a pitch, I have a couple different subject lines on my pitch. Sometimes if I'm stumped on a subject line, I'll throw it in the ChatGPT, I'll tell it what I'm looking for, and I'll help it to create a better subject line that may impact. But here I have three different options. And you want to remember when writing a subject line, this is the number one thing that's going to get someone to open your email. And you want to think about how they're reading it. Are they reading it on a desktop where they're going to get about 5 words before they decide to open your email? Are they looking at it on a mobile device where they're going to get about 3 words to decide to open your email? So you want to make your words really matter. You want to make them really impact. So if I was putting that in the ChatGPT, I would say make the first 3 to 5 keywords really vital. Then when you're writing your pitch, you want to start out talking about who you are and your purpose. And then you can go into exactly what you can teach that person's audience. Because you want to think about when writing a pitch, how is the host going to receive it? Because they don't want to be promotional. They don't care about selling your book. They want to respect their audience and they want to make an impact. And I guess just to add to this, what I'm telling you today comes from hosting 1,100 interviews as a host and being on well over 500 interviews as a guest. So I've seen both sides of this. You want to focus on what someone can learn, and that's something a host is really going to like when they see that in the pitch. And you want to close in asking, can we set something up? Do you think this would be a value of your audience? That's your initial pitch. Now, when you're following up on a pitch, I find that you want to follow up within 3 to 7 days. And what I like to do is when reaching out to a show, do 3 rounds of follow-ups in order to make sure that I'm getting out there enough. And I'll follow up with my tracking sheet, put the date things were done. If any communication has happened, I'll put it in there. Now, sometimes you may get responses to your pitch like no or take me off your list. This is actually a great opportunity to get in communication with somebody like, hey, you're not on a list. I'm actually just reaching out to you because I thought this would be a great fit. Totally understand if it's not. Is there a way I can be of value to your audience? You always want to be thinking of how can I create an opportunity for communication and how can I take this somewhere to make a really big impact? Something that's going to be really important once you have your show booked is having the right type of assets. The next thing I want to show you is something that's called a vital data sheet. You're going to hear in other places people are going to talk about a one-pager. I'll be honest with you, they're archaic. What a vital data sheet is it's a sheet of all the information that a host would need in order to conduct an interview with you and publicize that interview. So that's your phone number, Skype ID, links to headshots, websites, social media, different versions of your bio. Usually you want to have 185 or 200 word version and like a 50 or 75 word version because you want to make it easy on the host in order to do it. Don't make it written in first person, make it in third person because you want to make it easy for someone else to repurpose. Having your talking points on here, as well as 5 to 10 suggested questions, because not that they're going to use them, but this gives the host a good idea of a direction you can go and things you can talk about. Previous media samples also help as well. So I have 3 different topics depending on what I'm looking to cover. The next thing I want to cover are my favorite softwares for a campaign. The first is Mailtrack.io. Mailtrack.io allows you to see who's opening your emails, if they're opening your emails, and this is going to help you because you're going to know, do I have a good subject line? Is this interesting? Am I ending up in an inbox? Those are things that are really important. The second software actually helps you to end up in an inbox, and this is called Warm-Up Inbox. This is one of my favorite tools. It's going to give you what your sender score is. It's out of 100, like how are you doing? And this helps you to warm up your inbox. When you're sending a lot of emails, you can help to create the right kind of attention and actually end up in people's inboxes rather than their spam boxes. The next that I want to take a look at is when we're looking for finding contacts is Listen Notes. And this is really useful from a couple different perspectives. Let's look at my show. So this is going to show you what the global rank of a podcast is. So my show is in the top 1%. It's also going to show you if there's an email existing with that show. This pulls from Apple Podcasts. So that's where that data is going to come from. Sometimes it's available, sometimes it's not. So the next things I'm going to show you are actually about finding contact information. This is my absolute favorite tool. This is called Hunter.io, and I've used this way back in the beginning since I started podcasting in 2014. This allows you to put in any web domain, see what email addresses exist at that domain, and if it can't find it because it's just scraping online information, maybe that email isn't posted anywhere, it's going to give you the typical format that that website uses. This is really important because when you're reaching out to a show, you want to find either the host name, the producer's name, or the host assistant's name, because these are the people that matter in order to get on a podcast. So Hunter.io is my favorite tool for finding the right email addresses. The next tool, which is great as well, is called RocketReach.co. This tool helps you to look for different people that you may be looking to get in contact with. You do have to pay for this tool. There is a free trial. I think it cuts you off after about 5 names. So if you're going to be using it more than to just do 5 or 6 names, you're going to need to get a paid version of this. But this is a really great tool, helps you to find the right contact information, and helps you get seen the right way. So I hope you've enjoyed this video about getting out there and creating a big impact in the podcast space. If you're looking for more help or you want us to do this for you, check us out at commandyourbrand.com/book-a-call and book a call with our team today. We're here to help you make an impact. If you have not yet, smash that subscribe button to get below, like this channel, leave us a comment, share us with your friends. Thank you so much for checking out this video, and I hope to see you on future videos.